right off the bat, the setup looks good. So you've got, I'm going to bring in a tour player here as a comparison. If your setup is not good, we have got to fix it. So this is great that you're looking good. So on the right is Adam Scott. Okay? So here's what we're looking at. I want you to notice how, if I draw a line from the back of his neck, which is, his spine, to his tailbone, he's in a neutral spine angle. You'll notice that there is some curvature here, right? And then it comes in curves under here a little bit. But that's the way his spine is shaped. That's how he would have curvature in his spine if he stood straight up, right? And you can notice also that the bend that's happening for him to get to the ball is mostly occurring right here through his belt line. So those are his hips that are bending. If he were to unbend his hips, he would be standing straight up, but other than a teeny bit of knee flex. Okay? What we do not want to see, we do not want to see the spine bending. Okay? So let's look over here at you. Tailbone, back and neck. Great. You can see the same type of a spine there. Okay? Really good. And you can see there's bending of the hips right there. So that is really, really good. If I draw a line right through the center of your body, that line is really close to a 90-degree angle with your hips. Great job. Okay? Next thing is this. His arms are just hanging straight down from his shoulders. Really close, right? You're really close also. Now what's interesting is you'll notice that your hands, if anything, are reaching a little bit. They're certainly not inside of your shoulder line. Okay. When somebody reaches a little bit and they start to turn their shoulders, what happens is they tend to get the club too far inside. When I say too far inside, here's what I mean by that. I'm going to bring in another player who has a really good swing plane here. This is Justin Rose. So notice how his arms are hanging straight down from his shoulders. Okay? When he turns his shoulders, I'm going to put a target line down. When he turns his shoulders and just lets his hands kind of swing, he ends up in a position where when the club is parallel to the ground, it's also parallel to his target line. So his shaft is right on top of that wooden dowel. His shaft angle is on that sort of an angle parallel to his target line. Okay? People who have their hands out a little bit like you do here, they tend to get their shaft a little bit pointing out to the right. So when your shaft is parallel to the ground, based on how you're set up, it's very easy for you to get the butt end of your club pointing at that circle over there. Okay, so let's see what it looks like. So Justin Rose, the butt end of his club is pointing at this circle, right? Let's watch what you do. So when you're parallel to the ground, see it's a little teeny bit inside your hands there, right? Yeah, yeah. So you're bringing it back a little bit inside, okay? So that's less than ideal. However, this guy is a tour player, one of the best in the world, won the U.S. Open, okay? You've been playing 6 years with a job, right? Let's get back on Justin Rose again over here. So as he turns, continues to turn, right? See his club, his hands are right in front of his chest here? Well, at setup, your hands are also right in front of your chest, aren't they? Right? And when he gets to the point where his club is basically pointing down at the ground, we should be able to see from here that the club shaft is, the club shaft is pointing pretty much on his target line. So if I keep that right on his club, see how it's pointing right down at the target line there? So that is a swing that we would call on plane. A lot of players have, in their backswing especially, some differentiation there. Most guys do not swing it on plane like he does. Like I pulled him up on purpose because he's that on plane. Okay? But if he were to start his downswing from this position right here, he would come right back and get right back on the ball. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's watch what he does. See, he comes a little bit under that previous plane. Okay. So he's probably going to attack this ball a teeny little bit coming from in to out. See the ball takes off to the right a little bit? So that's where his club face was pointing at impact. Okay. Let's watch you. So because you brought the club back a little bit more inside, your hands are going to be usually be a little bit behind you. So when I say behind you, they're more like over your right pec muscle than your sternum. Make sense? Okay. So when you go to get back to the ball from here, if you just turn right through and don't make an adjustment, what we tend to see is the club come in a little bit shallow and bottom out behind the ball a little bit. So see when you're right here, your hands are a little more in front of your chest now, and see the club is a little bit more upright now. So I'm gonna back that up a little bit to show what I mean by that. So on the way back, here's your shaft angle right here, right? And it's pointing a teeny bit outside of the ball. Not bad. Not bad. On the way back through, you're going to come through more upright. So you make an adjustment, right? And now you're pointing a little bit inside the ball. Okay? And now what you're doing is, so here's what happens. A lot of people bring the club back a little bit flat or a little bit inside, tend to make an over-the-top move. This move where they kind of move their hands away out towards the ball and come out to in. What tends to happen, though, is once people start to learn about an in-to-out swing path versus out-to-in swing path, they know, I don't want to hit the ball that way. And they make themselves come from the inside through slowing down their downswing, maybe dropping their hands under. They tend to find ways to come from the inside, which I'm thinking is what you're doing. So I'm going to put that target line down here again, right? So see your club, right now your club head is inside of your hands. So at this point you're set to come at the club from an in to out swing path, a good looking swing path. But you'll notice how you're controlling the club with your hands right here, Greg. See you're not turning your body through. And in contrast, let's look at Justin Rose. So he's a little bit more set up for success right from the beginning. So he can just turn his body through. See, his body's always turning. He's not using his hands to get the club coming the right way. He's turning his body. So his golf swing is, he's using the rotational ability of his shoulders and hips and just swinging around his torso angle or his spine angle. What you're doing is setting up really well, not perfect with your hands away, not taking the club back absolutely perfectly, and you are continuing to not swing perfectly, but you're using your hand-eye coordination and the things you've learned to have a really good swing path still. But you've compromised a little bit of that angle of attack we talked about because you stopped turning and you use your hands to come through a little bit. And when we look at you from the face-on view, we might see a little bit more of that. Is this making sense? Okay. So I have good news for you. I work with guys who are 2 handicaps that have swings like yours. So I'm just showing you the ideal, like if you wanted to be, or anybody wants to be the best in the world, what they're going to do. But we're not at that point at this point. We're at like, let's break 100 all the time. So you're in good shape. And you're not going to, in 1 lesson or 5 lessons or in 1 year, swing like exactly like Justin Rose. I don't. And I've been doing it a long time. Let's look at the face-on view. And I'm going to bring up Rory McIlroy. He's got a great looking swing from the front. Okay. Notice what you told me before, how your ball position, I'm on Rory right now, See where his ball is positioned relative to his feet? Yep, it's about the middle. Yours is a little bit further back. Okay? And I did try to, I looked at where the camera was out there to get a good view of this. This is where it is. Okay? Let's watch Rory first. So he's turning those hips and shoulders, and what's happening is the arms and club are swinging as a unit. And you can notice how he's got this extension in his arm. So if he had a rope around going up to his left shoulder and made the same turn, the rope would look like his left arm looks like right now. And you'll notice he's got a nice hinge right there. As he unwinds with his lower body, and the key is there's no hand hitting. There's no hands doing a lot here. As he turns through, see when he gets the impact, see that club is going to, the club head bottoms out after he hits the ball. See all that dirt coming up after the ball? A little close up of his club head there. But if I back up a little bit, you'll notice his hands are ahead of that club head, and he's got that nice lever right there. Okay? That's what you're doing. Your grip looks great, by the way. Good shoulder turn here, right? But what's happening is you're starting to control a little bit more with the hands. And remember, the way we saw you take the club back, your hands are a little bit more towards your right shoulder. His are more in front of his chest. So you're a little bit, because your hands get down behind you, you feel like, you might feel like you don't have the flexibility to get the club all the way back. It's not flexibility, it's the position of your hands. If they were out here, you could keep turning and it would feel better. So now you'll see the left elbow bending, right? So now what's happening is, you're pretty much done turning, but the club keeps moving. So now your lever, remember how his lever looked? So we've got this going on. So if you were to unwind perfectly, what's going to happen is this little thing here is prone to releasing, which is going to make your hip bottom out before the ball. It's prone to it. Not necessarily. Like Rocco Mediate bends it a little bit and all that. Get rid of those lines. And notice how now you're starting to slide towards the target without unwinding yet. This is really kind of a little timing mechanism to get your club on plane that you never thought about. So now you're starting to get ahead of the ball a little bit. Do you see that? So when you go to hit it, you're going to have to slow down your body and let those hands catch up. So see the club head passing the hands a little? And I'm going to reiterate, in the big scheme of where you are versus other amateur golfers, you're not that far off. You're not looking like a tour player, but without changing the physics of your swing, and if you just practiced, worked your short game, you'd be shooting the 80s. Yeah, so it's really not as bad as you might think. Notice how it impacts. Which of your 2 feet has more weight on it? Okay, so what you're doing is you're looking at the picture and you're trying to figure it out because it's not clear. On Rory, which foot has the weight on it? Right. So what we want is we want you to be able to look at that down the road and say, weight's on the left foot. Make sense? And then you can see as the swing comes through, I'm going to back up a little bit because the ball's gone. Your hips are positioned in between your feet right here because your weight really wasn't definitively on your front side. When Rory gets through and the ball disappears and his hands are up about his chest, you can see his hips are definitely starting to turn all the way through to his front side. Okay? All right? So where do we want to start with? What we'd like to do is if we can get you to get the low end of your swing a little bit more forward on a regular basis, you're going to hit the ball a lot better. Your club face control is pretty good. Swing path is really good. So you're habitually coming from the inside a little bit, which is great. We want to try to get the low end of the swing a little bit more forward. So we want to get you the feeling of number one priority is getting this right hip moving on top of your left leg more. That's what we want to try to get you to feel as soon as possible. And that's what we're going to build on from there. Make logical sense? Okay. Let me send this to you.
Be sure to check out our YouTube channel for more instructional videos.